Hello from your favorite Grasslands PR team. Today we're back with another reason why these overlooked and underappreciated ecosystems are objectively the best biome. I just get giggly when I look at your faces. I'm sorry.
I wasn't even making eye contact.
I know. I only looked at Allan. It only took one of two.
She's happy to see us.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Allan.
And I'm Rachel. And today I've heard that Allan has a bummer for us to open up. So I'm going to...
It's not a bummer. It's just we have an urgent, we're going to talk about something frustrating and give you an urgent call to action.
Yeah. After that, I am doing the fun deep dive part about something that is going to be very happy and exciting. I'm going to go ahead and spoil it for you so you can look forward to it. Mm-hmm. I have a new favorite bird.
Oh. I noticed the meadowlark shirt, so I was like...
This is going to be relevant. My Rebel Meadowlark shirt. Yeah.
Wow.
Does anybody want to guess what my new favorite bird is based upon things that you've heard me just organically talking about in my life?
What was your old favorite bird? Because you've never struck me as I have one favorite bird kind of person.
That's correct. I do not. I have favorites.
Yes.
And they kind of usurp each other in line on any given day based upon what I'm currently into and what I think is neat or what season it is. Mm-hmm. And so it's an ever-moving list, but this is a bird that was not on my radar until recently as even being a candidate for my top 10 bird list.
Wow. Very cool. Very exciting. Too bad for brown-headed cowbirds.
And chickens.
It's deserved. This bird is cool. It's maybe cooler than them. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
All right.
I think it is. Okay.
Hot take.
Nobody has any idea what it might be?
Is it the bobolink?
Yeah, it's a bobolink.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Bobolinks are so cool. I was sleeping on bobolinks.
I almost stepped on a bobolink one time. That's all I got.
On?
Yeah, it was just in the grass. I was doing a bird count survey along a riparian waterway, which is not where they live. And I looked down at my feet and he was just there and he was just staring at me for I don't know how long because I was halfway through the count and I was like, oh.
None of this surprises me.
Nice.
That sounds like typical bobolink behavior.
Okay, great.
Fantastic.
Wow. I'm excited to get into the world of the bobolink. That's very good. Well, yes.
I'm so sorry. Can I make another statement, which is that I know in this trying time, a lot of people are out here using AI as their second brain. And I just want to reassure you, the audience, that all of our podcast is human created, including all the research and all of the script notes and everything. This is a human podcast. You're in good hands. Mwah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's important to note, especially as we do value, getting things right and doing good research and finding primary sources and stuff like that. Science literacy. AI can make that a little more challenging.
It's true. If you add a curse word to the end of your search, it will eliminate the AI results because it doesn't want to feed that into the AI.
Nice.
Man, AI.
I've been doing that a lot.
Search results are still broken.
They're
is
horrible.
Awful to use right
Dude,
now.
it really is.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, yeah, anyway. We don't need to tell you. Okay. For our conservation spotlight this episode. Well, first of all, it's National Grasslands Week as we record this, so happy National Grasslands Week, everybody.
Happy National Grasslands Week.
And National Pollinator Week. Thank you.
Well, that's not relevant to this discussion, but but yeah, happy National Pollinator Week.
Thank you.
What did you get me for National Grasslands Week, Nicole? Oh, that's
I was trying to make something up.
That's really awkward.
I couldn't think of anything.
All right. Well, for National Pollinator Week, I got you a butterfly.
No, you didn't.
It's outside right now.
No, you didn't.
We'll go look for it later.
Oh, a hike?
Oh.
Can we do our mutual gift is a hike?
Oh, yeah.
I'll have you look at grasses. You help me find a pollinator.
I have a lot of work to do on the computer for grassland groupies.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Jeez. Go touch some grass, Rachel.
I need to.
All right. So we're going to, for our National Grasslands Week, we're putting the conservation spotlight this episode on buffalo. And we're going to just, because there's been a lot going on with buffalo lately. So we're going to talk about it. And we're going to take a look slightly back and then a look forward and see what's changing with our nation's current policy towards bison, and what can we do about it to help our national mammal. So just to go back in time, decades ago to 2022. Things were very different for our keystone of the North American grassland. The bison was actually trending in a pretty positive direction just a few years ago. In 2022, after a comprehensive environmental review, the Bureau of Land Management, which was then under Secretary Deb Haaland, concluded that bison grazing was permissible on public land. And in fact, that it was highly conducive to grassland function, more so than cattle grazing. That is something that is really not even up for debate. A 2023 order by Secretary Haaland also ensured that federal agencies would prioritize tribally led opportunities to restore wild and healthy populations of American bison on prairie grassland ecosystems through collaboration with various partners and federal agencies, states, tribes, and landowners, using the best available science and indigenous knowledge. That whole decision, from Secretary Haaland and the Department of the Interior at the time, was paired with the Biden administration's public land rule, which put conservation as a legitimate use of federal lands on an equal footing with extractive uses or other things permissible under their multiple use framework. And that was altogether just a really good shot in the arm kind of for bison restoration efforts and land stewardship in our country. So things are a little different now. Mm-hmm. What have you heard in the news about bison lately?
I've heard that that whole thing was scrapped by Trump's team, and that they were like, now all these this entire herd of buffalo are illegally out here, and we have to like shoot them all dead or something. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what I heard.
Yeah, they gave them like 30 days or maybe even less to move them off of BLM land, which is insane to try to move that many animals. It was hundreds of animals.
Yeah, so there has been a big shakeup there. Earlier this year, and this became effective last month, the Bureau of Land Management, which is now under the purview of Interior Secretary Doug Burgum,
Boo. Boo.
Feel free to boo him if you'd like.
Thank you.
Reversed course completely against the BLM's own findings from just a few years ago, and has also completely changed their policy, as Rachel said. On May 8th, the BLM issued new grazing regulations and specifically terminated leases for the American Prairie Reserve. They called for the removal of bison from federal grazing lands on the basis that they are wildlife and not, quote, production-oriented stock.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, which is insane.
Yeah.
Despite them actively every single year harvesting them.
Correct.
And then donating most of that meat to people in need. So
Right. That's true. Yeah. The American Prairie Reserve does a lot of good work. They have been around for a long time. They have done a lot specifically with creating and buying up land to facilitate bison restoration. And yeah, it is a food security, food sovereignty is a big part of that. Yeah. Their mission. They're not just trying to be mean to cattle ranchers. Like I'm not really sure what the idea here is, or I'm not really sure where this idea that it's not a production oriented thing comes from.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think that it's rooted in anything that exists in reality. I think it's that the mega corporations that used to graze herds of cattle on land and then pretend like they were little farmers, but they're actually like, I think literally Walmart or something, wanted beef money again. And so they were just like, well, let's invent something that's demonstrably untrue and then stick by it. That's all it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They don't actually think it's not production. They're just saying it so they can do whatever they want.
Right. And that does seem to be kind of part of it, because they haven't really didn't really well define what the term production-oriented stock means. And legally, there is actually no production requirement for animals to be considered livestock, either under federal or Montana law. Montana is where this is sort of the epicenter for this whole thing. They're being evicted from or canceling leases specifically in that state, and as Nicole said, requesting the removal of over 950 animals from public lands.
God, that's way more animals than I thought.
3 days later, on May 11th of this year, the BLM finalized the repeal of the public lands rule, which results in overall less protection for American landscapes, such as the massive proportion of BLM lands that were open to drilling already. Conservation activities are no longer considered a viable or legitimate use of those lands. In fact, in the statement that Doug Burgum's office gave in the press release they argued that these aren't, these bison from the American Prairie Reserve are not a production-oriented thing. In fact, we have evidence that there are conservation activities happening, and said it like it was really seditious or something. Like it was, it was just the wording of it was so bizarre to me that it's like, can't use these 245 million acres of U.S. land for conservation. That's
crazy. Well, and then
oh my God.
So if you have a heritage breeds of cattle, you're conserving those breeds. So are those now conservation herds and not production herds? It opens up a whole bag of worms, even for farmers.
It's just so bizarre to me the way that the inversion of the language and just the, I don't know, just a complete polar shift from just 2 years ago of the culture here is wild. This is not a science-based decision. Okay. Whereas, the decision to permit bison to graze on public lands was informed by a multi-year environmental impact study and various other research conducted by the BLM's own offices and through National Science Foundation grants. This is not science-based at all. This is highly politically motivated. In fact, the Trump administration specifically targeted these 7 leases granted to American Prairie Reserve because they are a little bit of a special nuisance to cattle producers in Montana. It's worth noting who, in terms of who's driving this sort of decision making. We can look to the Associate Deputy Secretary of the Interior, Karen Budd Fallon, who is or was formerly a private attorney who represented ranchers against Secretary Holland just a few years ago before finding herself as a high-ranking Trump administration official. She has a number of ranching interests herself that utilize federal land for grazing, and she now directly impacts grazing policy. She also, this is her second time in the Trump administration. During her first stint, she had actually signed an ethics agreement that said she wouldn't do anything related to grazing matters. The second time around, she seems to have completely ignored that. In most circles, that would be considered a massive conflict of interest. But, that's just sort of how business is done. So, for now, right?
We're not saying that's just how it is.
No. Yes, but it's
it's what's happening.
Exactly. Yeah. This is this sets a very bad precedent. Right now, we're talking about 7 leases and 900 bison, but the decision, could have far-reaching effects. And there are a number of people sounding the alarm on that. For example, the Coalition of Large Tribes, which is also known as COLT, which comprises more than 50 tribal nations and manages over 25,000 head of bison on tribal lands, have been highly critical of this decision because, well, first of all, it contains no exclusion for tribes. And secondly, it's proposed without any consultation from native groups and could potentially risk the grazing of bison by Native American groups on federal lands altogether.
Mm-hmm.
The American Prairie, a number of tribes filed protests to this decision alongside American Prairie, and noting that it is, quote, unlikely that any tribal government or tribal citizen buffalo herd would ever be eligible for BLM grazing leases with the rule written as is. So that's a problem, okay? Buffalo belong on the American landscape, to keep them off of a huge proportion of America's landmass. It's a threat to, the culture, the history, and like we said, the food, the sovereignty, the systems of these tribal nations. It's not great. It's worth getting quite upset about, even though this is what feels like a relatively small thing right now. Like we said, sets a dangerous precedent going forward.
Yeah, it seems like they keep doing stuff like that where they're like, hey, this is going to have huge ramifications, and it just gets ignored. And I mean, it's coming. The snowball's slow to catch up, but it's growing and it's going to hit them. And, trigger warning if you're a cartoon villain, but I don't think this is a crazy take that conservation makes the land better for production. Whoa.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah. I think that's not a hot take, I would say. I think that's pretty good. I think, and, as we've said on this podcast before, the way that BLM, their grazing policies and the grazing activity on BLM lands, if you remember, we spoke about ProPublica's expose on this at the end of last year, how these grazing lands and the way they're utilized is largely just kind of a wealth transfer directly from taxpayers to wealthy producers of beef. Yeah. Because there is an incredibly small number of ranchers who use the majority of the public lands, and it's a huge subsidy for them, because it's way cheaper to use the public lands than to use private. So for them to basically, first of all, be getting a tremendous benefit from this, and then be pushing, to exclude all other uses of these public lands for conservation for anything is so frustrating. It's, it's so much more than just a resource. And, it's wild. So what is being done about this situation with American Prairie and having their bison evicted from federal land? Well, first of all, obviously it's going to the courts, as does everything. Earlier this month, American Prairie, the Western Watersheds Project, and Defenders of Wildlife all filed appeals against the new grazing rules. And you are, dear listener, also able to provide your 2 cents because there is a public comment period at the Bureau of Land Management right now on the new grazing rules that ends July 13th. So if you'd like, you could tell them that, science-based decision-making would be nice on public lands. You could tell them that bison, perhaps belong on American grasslands, even if they are also grazed by cattle. You could tell them that it would be the ecologically preferable and more efficient choice to put bison on our BLM rangelands, thus ensuring their long-term health, like Rachel said. You could also tell them, hey, maybe create tribal exceptions, because this is, this is obviously, this goes well beyond just a matter of economic freedom for a lot of people in this country. And I don't know, just tell them whatever you want. Tell them to stop being corrupt. I encourage anyone to file a public comment here because it's even though these may end up being completely ignored, it is still important to create a public record of how unpopular, ill-advised, and poorly received these policies are. Yeah. That needs to stand. This is built on nothing.
Yeah.
And if I could, I also just want to say, since it is National Grasslands Week, I do want to take a moment to recognize that while our BLM rangelands are being used in ways that aren't really conducive to conservation, tribal lands are a much different story. Another thing you can do right now is support the IBMA, that is the Indian Buffalo Management Act.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that has been introduced in Congress as of March of this year. It is a bipartisan bill. It is endorsed by the Intertribal Buffalo Council, who are a group that's been around since 1992 that has been working to reintroduce buffalo on tribal lands and create restoration herds. It's endorsed by the National Wildlife Federation, the Nature Conservancy, the World Wildlife Fund, and even our own Kansas Representative Sharice Davids is a co-sponsor on this bill. It is a really good thing because, as we said, I mean, it is essential to the identity and to the sovereignty and to the security of our tribal nations to be able to produce and maintain buffalo on their lands. So the Indian Buffalo Management Act will direct the Interior Secretary to work with tribes and tribal organizations to, one, promote and develop capacity for tribes and tribal organizations to manage buffalo habitat. 2, protect and enhance buffalo herds for maximum benefit of the tribes. And 3, to ensure that the tribes are directly involved in Interior Department decision-making regarding buffalo, which, as we see, that is very important because we really can't trust to make the right choices without consulting the people that, this matters to far, far more. Feel free to, we'll give you links and resources to learn more about the IBMA, and feel free to let your representative know, like, hey, what if we, did something about this? That would be nice. It needs to be enshrined as a treaty right. And, it's important. So, we can get everything with the buffalo back on track here. A metaphor that I see a lot of people use when they're discussing this legislation is, they talk about how bison, they point themselves at the wind, right? And that's kind of what we need to do with this, right? Everything is a little rocky right now, conservation wise in this country, but we face it, head on instead of turning away, and it will get better eventually.
Yeah.
I really do think it is important to reach out to your representative. Something that surprised me when we went up to Topeka was it really seemed like they didn't hear from their constituents that often. Like, they had really specific examples of like, oh, this person emailed me recently about this thing. I don't actually know that much about it. Please educate me. Like, they don't have time. They should, but they don't have time to look up every single thing that they're voting on or like possibly moving forward on. And that's a whole issue. But like, they need to hear from their constituents. Like, it really does make a difference.
Yeah. One exception that I'll say is that I heard directly from some lawmakers that they really don't like getting form emails. The memorable emails they get are the ones where people are sending them like 2 sentences going, hey, chucklehead, why are you doing this? Haven't you read this bill? I live in so-and-so and this is going to be bad for me. Thank you. So like literally writing in your own words, like a single sentence about like how stupid it is to kick buffalo off of grazing land is going to be effective, more effective than you even imagine. So don't be intimidated by not sounding scientific enough, or they need to realize that like actual people have these opinions and it's not just like a bot campaign or people clicking a single button with low effort. Like, type them an email from your email account. Hit send.
Literally 2 sentences. Same with the public comment period stuff. Like, a sentence is fine. It'll take 3 minutes. You don't need an account. We'll have a link directly to it. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry for cracking my knuckles in the middle of that sentence.
No, you're okay.
Cool. Thanks, Allan.
Of course. Right. Happy National Grasslands Week, everyone.
Happy National Grasslands Week. Do you want to pivot to birds?
Yeah, let's pivot to birds.
Hello, my good friends. As you've heard, I have a new favorite bird. I was doing some research for a totally unrelated project, and I stumbled upon a tidbit about the bobolink migration that made me go, what? And the more I dove into it, the more I was like, good God, what an incredible bird. I love them so much. Now, I'm going to tell you, the reason I think that they haven't been on my radar is because I don't have like a very personal connection to them, meaning they don't really breed in Kansas. They're not really around in Kansas very often. Therefore, I have not brushed shoulders with them. I just have not been or worked in grasslands where they live primarily. And so I'll forgive myself for not realizing that they're one of the coolest birds that's ever lived.
Yeah. Because your favorite bird is the one you saw last. So.
Right. Yes. Thank you. Oh my God. That's it. So for my segment on bobolinks, I have a primary question that the bobolinks opened up for me, which we're going to be answering by looking at the lives and movements of this species. My question is this: how does a bird use a landscape? How does a bird use land? How does a bird experience its quote-unquote home when that home stretches across hemispheres? So I'm going to tell you some like basic bobolink stuff as a spoiler, sort of. I'm like give you the good info up top, and then we're going to explore it, right? So here's what you need to know about bobolinks. Every single year, they make a round-trip migration that is 20,000 kilometers.
How many blue whales is that?
I'm not going to answer that question. This migration is one of the longest migrations of any New World passerine. That's perching birds. Perching birds, it's like one of the most crazy migrations. I had no idea. That's cool.
Can I ask like where to where, general range wise?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
Hang on. Well, actually, I can tell you. They're in North American prairies and grasslands for breeding, and it's the northern part. They're kind of like at the border of Kansas. Sorry, wow. They're at the border of Canada and the United States. Okay. And as far south as Nebraska, there are breeding populations. But they really don't come further south than Nebraska for breeding.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they fly all the way to the Pampas of Argentina. So they're following like Swainson's hawks, but not following Swainson's hawks. They use a totally different migration route, which we'll get to.
Okay, that's good. Now, I needed that because 20,000 kilometers to me as an American means nothing.
Right.
So I had no idea. I was like, is that like from here to Texas? I don't know.
Yeah, great question. I also don't know what it means by among the long or like one of the longest annual migrations, because like with Swainson's hawks, which have basically the same range, we know that they are the second longest migration of any raptor. In this hemisphere, and they're only beat by like Arctic peregrine falcons specifically.
Nice.
Right.
Okay.
But I don't know where the bobolink stacks up, but it is literally that long. It's the same as a Swainson's hawk, which is the second longest of any raptor.
Nice.
So
okay.
yeah, in this hemisphere. To really hit home, I do have some information for you about how long that traveling is. Allaboutbirds.org, Cornell Lab of Ornithology, says that this is among the most impressive songbird migrations in the world. And because we know that they can live at least 9 or 10 years, throughout its lifetime, a bobolink might travel basically the equivalent of 4 or 5 times around the circumference of the Earth.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah. They also, because of their migration, experience twice a year spring.
Oh,
Yeah, they get spring up in North America, and they get spring down in South America.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And this is the key part that made me go, what is happening with this bird? I have a quote, bobolinks strain our traditional notion of a stationary, non-breeding range. As birds make extended stopovers in Venezuela before proceeding south to Bolivia, Paraguay, and Argentina.
Oh, okay.
So what we're going to be discovering is that bobolinks really don't care about the buckets that we normally put scientific things about birds in.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of going where the wind takes them.
Yeah, because I guess we kind of think of migration as being like very A to B.
Yeah.
And B to A. But you're saying this is more of a meandering path.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it is a meandering path. And, the traditional notion, quote unquote, that we have is based in science. There are species where it's like we have this entire range of birds. We know that the birds in this specific part all go to this particular part.
Mm-hmm.
And then these birds in this other range go to this other range. And like we can track it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not true for this species. And it makes me wonder how is it for other species too? And what is going on here? So in order to dive into it, this podcast is going to be taking us through the journey of a life of a bobolink. Just in a year, we're going to look at their travels and how they're using the landscape. Because instead of being basically a nonstop migrant, I've decided to call this bird a lackadaisical migrant.
Lackadaisical migrant. I like that. It's a good vibe.
And I think that's pretty fun. So, of course, the most important question is where we start the journey. Usually they're like, let's start it when they're leaving the breeding range. And I think that's dumb. So what I'm going to do is, for reasons I can't articulate, we're going to start when they're winter, quote unquote, which again was just another summer, is over. And you are in, we're gonna take a journey here, right? You are in the pampas of Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It is mid-March. And the pampas are full of bobolinks. We're gonna say specifically we're in the Formosa province,
okay,
which is like right on the border of Paraguay.
Okay.
I looked at a map earlier, but I've already forgotten.
Yeah.
It's either Paraguay or Bolivia. No. I know geography. I studied maps, so I wouldn't do this.
How cold is it in the Pampas?
It's not. It's tropical.
It really? So mid-March, I don't even need like a jacket?
No, you're chill. It's
wow.
it's tropical.
This is nice.
Formosa, by the way, is archaic Spanish for beautiful. So the modern equivalent of that word would be hermosa.
Yeah.
And it is a tropical open grassland system. There's wet lowlands. There's rivers and dry uplands. There's really significant rivers moving through this area. And because it's mid-March, the stars are changing. And you're starting to feel a little restless. All the bobolinks are like, we gotta stop moving.
Yes.
We've been here for too long. It's been like, well, it depends.
And the ornithological term for that is
I forgot.
I forget every time.
Tell me.
Zugenruche.
Oh, no wonder I forgot.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Zugenruche. It's like a migratory restlessness, right? Zugen. Yeah, it's a German word.
Thank you for always having the word for something.
That was it's just some fun bird trivia there.
So anyway, you're experiencing Zugenrufe, and it's time for your annual 5 to 6 week trip north. Okay. You and the boys, and this is normally like you kind of group up into the bobolinks, group up into little groups, like smaller groups. For example, like 4 boys get together in like a little adventuring party, and they're like, all right, guys, let's go. And so they're smaller single-sex groups, typically. And they start gathering up and they start moving. So by late March, early April. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm tripping over my
it's
words.
fine.
By late March, early April, the birds are on the move. They're flying north through Bolivia.
Mm-hmm.
They're flying through Brazil's Pantanal,
Mm-hmm.
which is a famous ecoregion, so hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about. You might follow the Andes through Colombia, or you might travel through Venezuela a little bit to the east instead. Do you rest? Do you take breaks? Remember, you're going from Argentina all the way to Canada, 5 to 6 weeks. Do you stop and take breaks?
No.
Yes,
Yeah.
up to 2 weeks.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you chill. You stop whenever you want for up to 2 weeks.
Okay.
You're just chilling.
Well, yeah, I was going to say some birds probably make that trip way faster.
Like 3 days or something ridiculous.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, you're trying to get to northern Venezuela, which is where a lot of them are crossing the Gulf because they are a Caribbean migrant. So rather than going across the little tiny strip of Panama, most of the birds, they don't follow rules, are traveling across the Caribbean to get into their breeding grounds.
Cool. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
The little bachelor groups, are these...
Bachelor and bachelorette groups.
Well, you specified boys.
Well, that was a specific example from a study. They were like a group of 5 boys arrived in one group.
Single sex groups.
Yes. These single-sex groups, are they related at all? Are they besties? Is it random? How do they choose?
I don't know.
More research needed.
More research needed. Also, the evidence that we have doesn't seem to indicate a pattern. Because some of them aren't even going to the same breeding grounds, or we don't know if they're going to the same breeding grounds.
Okay.
I don't know that they stay in the same groups even while they're traveling.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And it's unclear. More research needed for sure.
So these birds are just kind of like, they're like just like backpacking.
Yeah.
And just like staying at different hostels and meeting people and then just kind of going off
intermingling.
with other people.
They're very gregarious. They love hanging out with other bobolinks and other birds and stuff. They will attack a snake sometimes if they want to, if it's like eating one of their babies. But like,
They want to.
but yeah, no, they're just mega chilling.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now in northern Venezuela, their eyes are on the ocean. They're ready for that Caribbean trip, and bobolinks are capable of making transoceanic flights of 1,200 kilometers or more in one day. So they can just bust it right over the Caribbean. They're capable of it. They can make a single day's trip and cross the whole Gulf.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Do they? Kind of depends. This this is a great moment for an interlude because I feel like I should mention that bobolinks, as you've figured out, have, well, I'll quote, exhibit no coarse scale migratory connectivity.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. This word that I just used, migratory connectivity.
Yeah.
It's something that we measure to find like patterns in how populations are moving. So when we talked in the beginning about how in some populations it'll be like, yeah, the birds in Alaska go to Bolivia and the birds in New York go to Colombia or whatever. It's really useful if you want to find local risks to an entire population or the population network because of the set patterns that they're going through during migration. They exhibit zero of that. There is no large-scale set pattern of how they're choosing to move. And in order to demonstrate that, I'm going to tell you some stories of individual birds' travels that we have thanks to a 2013 geolocator study by Renfrew et al. On bobolinks, where they put geolocators on these bobolinks in like Vermont or New York or wherever their breeding grounds were, and then they tracked them. And here's some examples of how these individual birds chose to migrate from Venezuela. Bird number 1 was tagged in Nebraska. So we know it's heading to Nebraska.
Okay.
It took a 6-day Bahamas vacation in the Bahamas. On May 14th, it flew across the Gulf of Mexico directly to Alabama in one day.
Okay.
So it's in Alabama. Day 2, it's in Kansas. Hangs out in Kansas. Arrives in Nebraska 4 days later.
Dang. Okay.
So it's in Kansas for 2 days
Yeah.
total.
Okay.
And that helps me understand why I didn't see bobolinks very often.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bird number 2, tagged in Vermont. It spent 1 day in the Bahamas kicking it. It had some snacks and then kept going.
Did these 2 birds hang out?
No.
Darn.
Well, I don't know, actually.
Okay.
It's hard to say. It flew directly to South Carolina.
Ooh.
And then it kind of moved inland and crept north toward Vermont along the coast,
Okay.
generally speaking. And then he hit Vermont on May 12th.
Okay.
Okay. Bird number 3, also heading to Vermont.
Okay.
It's heading to the same area.
Sure.
This bird spent 3 days in the Bahamas. And then on the same day that other bird arrived in Vermont, it moved to Florida. It flew straight from the Bahamas to Florida.
Okay.
Okay. It shows up in the Chesapeake Bay area,
Ooh. Okay.
which is DC, Maryland.
Yeah.
For those who aren't geographically in the know, I had to look that up.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
I don't. So yeah, it's in the Chesapeake Bay area for 5 days between May 15th and May 20th.
Okay.
So it's just hanging out there.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, on May 20th, it just flies directly from Chesapeake Bay to its breeding grounds in Vermont.
Okay.
Just direct flight, boom, it's there.
It's okay.
Uh-huh. I have a final story for you. This is a bird that's heading to a breeding ground northwest of Toronto in Canada.
Okay.
This bird spent the first week of May in Florida, and then it traveled north along the Appalachian Mountains before finally making its way across the Canadian border. And it kind of traveled between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, and then flew up to its breeding grounds.
So yeah, those are like migratory pathways that go, I mean, all across the eastern United States then.
Yeah.
So there's like, that's interesting. So from like a conservation perspective, does that, that probably makes it, I would imagine, I'm trying to decide if that makes it better or worse for the species, because it's like, for one, I guess you're diffusing your risk a little bit, because it's like, we're just going to go whenever, take whatever path, get there whenever, who cares?
Yeah.
Right? Instead of like birds that are like, we're going to go from this wetland to that wetland. If there's a storm in between those two, we're all going to die, is that good or bad for bobolinks? I don't know. It seems like it's hard to.
Yeah. And I think overall the sentiment is that it makes the species very flexible, which has already helped the species because their original historic nesting grounds and some of their original historic feeding grounds during migration have been destroyed.
Right.
And this flexibility does mean that as a species, they can kind of go with the flow and switch their route up without too much impact on the species. I say that, but there are probably impacts and we don't fully understand what those are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, there's really no rule that they follow. Like birds going to the same location might take totally different routes, might hang out with different groups. And they do like to go to the same breeding grounds year after year, like even to the point where the females will often pick the same male to pair up with once they get there every year. And they'll hit pretty much everywhere, like Alabama, Jamaica, Cuba, Hispaniola, Georgia, Bermuda. It's just the only like quote unquote loose rule for their migration is that it's very uncommon for them to use a migration route through Central America. But that is still not unheard of. Like they still will go over Panama sometimes. They've been reported in like Guatemala and other places, but it's just not their preferred route.
Okay.
They've shown up in Mexico and stuff. Yeah. So yeah. Here's time for another sidebar, which I just think is fun.
I thought we were just on a sidebar. We're on.
Oh no, sorry. I came back from the sidebar. The sidebar was that they have no course movement. And then we got back into the migration. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, I should say when we've exited the sidebar. That was main content.
No, it's okay. I feel like we're going through this outline like a bobolink.
That was my goal.
Yeah, it's
Thank
nice.
you.
Yeah.
We're just having little stopovers along the way. I'm so glad you noticed because I was going to say that and then I forgot to mention it.
Yeah, it was good.
Thanks, Allan.
Yeah.
So sidebar. How are they navigating? I think this is fun. The entry in their species account for this that I read sounds kind of like a car advertisement. They're like, it has an integrated system for migratory orientation. But basically, it's magnetics and stars. And this is fascinating. I stopped myself from going down this rabbit hole because it is too deep. The Warren is ever changing. They have iron oxide, probably magnetite, that is present in the sheaths of tissue around their olfactory nerve, which is their smelling nerve. I don't know if bobolinks can smell. I stopped myself from going down this rabbit hole, as I previously stated. So
I thought we determined that, generally speaking, there's no reason to think that birds can't smell.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
But they don't have a usually very well-developed sense of smell that they're using.
Right.
They usually rely on other, But their olfactory nerve surrounded by magnetite. Additionally, they have magnetite in, the olfactory nerve and bulb. So that's cool. They also have it in bristles that project into the nasal cavity.
Okay.
We've known this since like the 80s and 90s. And their entire facial nerve system, for the medical nerds out there, that is the trigeminal nerve system.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah. Their facial nerve system responds to small changes in magnetic fields because of that magnetite.
Nice.
And they can basically sense the Earth's magnetic field.
They can smell it.
I like to think that they can smell the Earth's magnetic field.
Yeah.
I think that that's really cool. Because I've heard of some birds, like it's related to their eye systems, right? I don't know. Regardless, their face is going, zzz, I spider sense the magnetic fields or whatever. And that's how they navigate.
Incredible.
They also rely on stars. So it's a really important thing. Research shows basically they use the magnetic field to generally orient themselves, and then they actually use the stars themselves for navigation. So they look heavenward and navigate by the stars. They are traveling at night a lot of the time.
Now, I have a question about this because and I don't even know if it's consistent from species to species, but stellar navigation in birds.
Yeah.
Is that learned? Is it innate? Is it, there may not even be like a really solid answer because I know this is a lot of this stuff is like, you're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
So, but what do they think with bobolinks?
I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know. They are really gregarious, so it would make sense if there's some degree of learning. But ultimately, it turns out a lot of things in birds, there's sort of like a template to make them predisposed to learning something, which they can then put their learning on top of. And with this sort of lackadaisical bobolink migration, that wouldn't surprise me. But I don't have access to any evidence that we know an answer. And I think that's neat.
It's cool. Yeah. Love a mystery.
I wonder if there's any correlation between like springs that are really stormy and have a lot of clouds. Do you think they get more lackadaisical because they're like, vaguely this direction? I don't know.
It is actually documented in migratory songbirds, which a lot of them are stellar migrators, right? Of course, we know this because birders. But there are more vagrant species in those circumstances, which means that even the good navigators get blown off course and have trouble navigating. And then they show up in cool places where all the chasers are like, I got to show up and get that from my list.
Sure.
Yeah. So for bobolinks, for sure. I'm certain that affects their movements.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So sidebar concluded. We're at our breeding grounds. It's time for a breeding frenzy. It's time for breeding stuff. Their ultimate destination is, of course, like I said, northern North America, Nebraska, and up. The males begin arriving between the first week of May and the middle of the month, depending on their destination.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, they made it there in 5 to 6 weeks total, even with 2-week breaks in South America. So
Pretty good. Yeah.
pretty good. The females begin arriving 1 week after males at any given location. So whatever time the males arrived, 1 week later, the girls are there.
Mhm.
And the males arrive in sync, which makes sense because they have a very red-winged blackbird mating system where they all stake out their territories and they go, I'm a cool bird and I poof out my feathers. And then all the girls are like, that's hot stuff right there. I love his territory. I'm going to nest under him. And then he can have multiple females. So very red-winged blackbirds, except the females all get along. In red-winged blackbirds, the females will like duke it out for their own little territories.
Right.
The female bobolinks will nest like 5 meters away from their sister wife. So they don't really care.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about their habitat that they're in? Because this is an important sidebar, and it does have a lot to do with their habitat use, which we spent so much time talking about in the beginning. They originally nested in tall grass and mixed grass prairies in the Midwestern U.S. and South Central Canada. And here's a quote. It's a little bit of a bummer. Most of this area came under intensive agriculture more than a century ago.
I've heard about that.
Yeah. But by that time, the vast deciduous forests of the eastern U.S. had been cleared, providing habitat in hayfields and meadows.
Yay.
Yay. Right? I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
oh, boy.
So turn the prairie into row crops, but we turned the forest into
Prairie.
fields. So
Yeah. So literally most of their breeding habitat is hayfields.
Okay.
Yeah. In modern times anyway.
This kind of sounds. This is a little bit like this was the case with like the Henslow sparrow too, right?
I think
they
so,
were
yeah.
kind of like just really adaptive to whatever. Like their environment is changing wildly, but they're like, it's gonna be all right.
Yeah. So they just kind of like moved in further east than they would have been historically and moved a little further west as, you know, hay moved out there too. And in their hayfield habitats, they prefer quote unquote old hayfields, which is defined as hayfields that are more than 8 years old. So it's been at least 8 years since it was plowed and seeded.
Interesting.
Huh.
Yeah. They like some forbs, but not too many. And they like mostly grasses. They like lots of litter, lots of grasses, to the point where they'd rather live in a switchgrass monoculture than live in something with cool season plantings. Like they're all about those grasses.
Okay.
Okay. So that's where they're spending their breeding season. I'm not going to get into their breeding stuff. Feel free to ask questions. So now you've been stationary for a long time. It's been like a few weeks. By June, flocks with birds of both sexes and all ages begin forming again. Or for the first time, I guess, in our timeline. Yeah. As the new crop of bobolinks emerges. Babies shoot out of the nest around day 10. The nests are on the ground, right?
Okay.
So it's daytime and they just walk out of the nest on foot. And they're like, it's time for me to get out of here. The parents do not provoke or encourage this at all. The babies just are like, it's time. And they stand up and they walk. The entire sibling group follows within 1 to 6 hours of the first sibling leaving the nest. And then they scatter the babies to the point where if there's any runt left over in the nest that's a little bit too small, it will literally starve to death because the parents are chasing its siblings around and they don't have time to go back to the nest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
Brutal. So these little baby birds, they're walking around. They're jumping over the golden Alexander that was right next to their nest. They're hopping over tangled litter and running around, and they're begging really loudly. They're going, feed me. And they start running immediately after leaving the nest. So they're just like ready to go.
Okay.
Did I mention it was day 10? Yeah.
Yeah.
If they get disturbed, like by people or cows or whatever, they'll leave the nest early. They'll leave as early as like day 8. They cannot fly, but they're really good at running around.
Okay.
They fly around day 16 of being alive. And their parents divide and conquer, chasing them down and feeding them. And it can be a community affair. There are observations of 3 different males feeding one brood. Remember, they are polygynous, which means that there should be only one male and several females. But no, this is 3 different males feeding the same brood. Were they related birds? No idea. Were they like older siblings? Who knows? Was it an extra pair stepdad? There's just no way of knowing.
Sure.
But they typically don't have a second nest. So it's definitely not like they know that it wasn't a bird that was from that year because they're breeding plumage.
Right. Okay.
They're like the females and the young birds have like brown streaky stuff. Did I mention what a bobolink looks like?
No, you didn't.
Oh my God, they're so pretty. Here's a picture of one. Describe him.
He is a good bird.
Yes,
he's sort of what would you describe it, Nicole? Paint us a word picture.
It looks like a skunk.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Black on the underside, up through the face with a yellow cap on the back, and some white stripies on the wings. However, the black on the bottom is also like very speckled, with some yellow as well, which is very fun.
Yeah, that was like a sort of intermediate plumage bird. Here's a full breeding male.
Ooh, that does look skunky.
Yeah, a lot more white on the back. Yeah,
White rump.
They have a very like large finchy beak.
Yes.
Yeah, they're a blackbird. Yeah. So, but it's like a thick blackbird beak. Yeah. Like a cowbird.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty birds. So yeah, it is. The parents feed the chicks. They're all running around. Like I said, it can be a community affair. In fact, there was one account from a researcher who did a lot of bobolink research of there being a female eastern meadowlark who lost her brood to predators. And even she was hanging out and helping to feed the bobolink babies running around.
What?
Yeah.
That's wild.
No.
Isn't that so cute?
That's no.
It just makes me so happy. They're good birds.
Good birds.
They're very friendly. And did I mention that this is all in sync too? So the females like sync up when they're making nests, which means all the babies popping out syncs up, which means I need you to picture this like post-breeding season. It's just babies running around everywhere. So it's just a field of babies just loose. Most of the nests fledge within the same 3 to 4 days.
Nice.
In a breeding population, yeah. Within 6 days of those first babies shooting out of the nest, fledglings and adults from several nests have joined into a flock.
Okay.
So all of this is happening in one big flock. The mobile flock grows until the other adults and babies join up with them, and it's pretty mobile. They're moving across the entire meadow, chasing around their babies and feeding them. And the parents will keep feeding their own babies for almost a month in this flock. And the entire time spent on their breeding grounds depends.
I like that. I like that so much of their life history is vibes based.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So now we've come, of course, to the southbound trip. So we have a flock of birds. They're all mixed up. At this point in their life, they're no longer, they haven't been in single sex groups for a while. They don't care about that anymore. They're all just family. It's by July or early August, some of those meadow flocks start leaving to congregate elsewhere. They'll hang out mostly in marshes, actually. They love waterways. They'll go to freshwater marshes around rivers, especially like River Delaware up by New York. They will also be oceanside. They'll hang out in coastal marshes, partly because they love rice. Wild rice is their jam. Sorry, bleep that out. This is the genus Zizania. There's 3 native species of North American wild rice. Okay. And so they followed the shores and marshes of large rivers in pretty huge numbers, past tense, because that was historic. Other meadow flocks will stay on those breeding meadows and hayfields until like mid-August or even early September. So like some of them head out, some of them are like, now we're here. I cannot stress enough how loose all the data is.
It seems like it's just kind of hard to study them consistently. I don't know.
Yeah, they're just moving around. August through October, historically, bobolinks kind of trickled out of the United States. They might stay in New York marshes into October. So New York until October. Or they might hang out in South Carolina and Georgia rice fields for several weeks in late August. So much earlier. Birds were documented in Arkansas rice fields until October 24th in the 1950s. There used to be huge swaths of cultivated rice in the South. Emphasis on used to be, emphasis on all of this is historic data.
Right.
Because wild rice is currently not available in the U.S. during southbound migration anymore.
Full stop?
In the southern states, yeah. There are no longer southern rice fields that are cultivated rice fields of wild rice for them to use.
Oh.
Yeah. And so we don't really fully understand their current migration, but it's generally thought that the timing of their movements basically has to differ from historic records because their main food source is gone. There are northern wild rice fields. I mean, there's a species that was from the Delaware River area and Canada, the northern wild rice. So they will still use those resources. And generally speaking, these birds will funnel through Florida, across the Caribbean again, with stopovers on the islands, and land in South America again. Here's a quote that I thought was neat. This is from their Birds of the World account. Early in the 20th century, flight over the Caribbean from Jamaica was called the bobolink route because bobolinks were the most numerous bird using this corridor.
That's fun.
Nice.
Now, with the geolocator study in 2013, we did get some clues about how they're using their southbound migration. And in that study, they actually saw that birds were making nonstop flights, which I think is a little bit sad because even though they can, I have to wonder how much of that is because they no longer have access to the foods they used to use. Yeah. They found birds around the Connecticut and Maryland/DC area flying directly to Venezuela and Colombia, respectively, nonstop.
Wow.
Some, possibly stress-driven.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just so lackadaisical leaving in the fall. They're like, oh, it's actually getting kind of chilly.
Yeah. But they have adapted well. And even though habitat changes have definitely or have likely altered their migration, this is science words for we don't necessarily have the data, but it just seems obvious. Yeah. They're adapting. And for birds with geolocators, at least, their southbound migration lasted 3 to 4 months. So contrasting the 5 to 6 weeks of them moving north, overall getting to their molting grounds, it's a longer trip. Ultimately, after arriving in South America, they take their first overwinter holiday. They have a little vacation in the llanos of Venezuela and Colombia, and they spend 4 to 6 weeks there.
Wow.
And these are the soggy, flooded grasslands that we know and love. And they hang out there for 4 to 6 weeks, just having a little vacay. Most of the population hangs out there.
That's wild.
Interesting. It's like just like a resort for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No other bird really does this.
Huh. That's
that
weird.
we know
Yeah.
of anyway. Yeah. Is this migration? I don't know. In November, they have a second destination. It's November now.
Uh-huh.
Their second destination is Bolivia.
Okay.
And these birds, while they're traveling, are loosely following major waterways and major wetland paths. They've been doing this kind of the whole time. They look for open grassland systems, and they'll cross the Amazon basin in a couple of days and arrive very deliberately in Bolivia, where they remain for, are you ready for this? Anywhere between 3 days
Uh-huh.
and 8 weeks.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Quote, for the remainder of winter.
Yeah.
3 days to 8 weeks. Yep.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, this is the austral spring also, not winter.
Mhm.
Here's a quote from their account again. Some remain in that same area, while others move farther east and south. Most move to northeast Argentina and northwest Argentina. So most of them move on. Some of them just hang out in Bolivia for the rest of winter. And again, they're loosely following waterways. They distribute into ungrazed grasslands,
Okay.
ranch lands, marshlands, and crops. In natural grasslands in the pampas, they kind of split off into smaller flocks and disperse more, and they're feeding on the grass seeds and hanging out. When rice and crop seed become available, they go to town on that. They love rice, and they'll be in massive flocks in rice. The biggest bobolink flocks are in rice production regions in South America. And they are on their wintering grounds, read, that was the note for myself, sorry. Molting grounds? That word keeps popping up.
Multi-grounds, yeah.
Circa late December through mid-March. So that's late December-ish, mid-March, which is again when the stars have changed.
Mhm.
That's when they're on their quote-unquote wintering grounds.
Okay.
Which makes me go, what is going on here? What are wintering grounds? How are we deciding which part of their whatever is a wintering ground?
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
they're not really following the patterns we expect. And so at least these researchers did provide a definition for overwintering because it was necessary to define it in these circumstances. So they are claiming that what they are referring to as overwintering grounds is a 3 to 4 month period during which bobolinks remain within a radius of 300 kilometers or less and undergo their pre-alternate molt. So basically they're like, wherever the birds are hanging out and not straying between some bounds we set up
Yeah.
to molt.
300-kilometer radius is okay. So that's just like, but that's very broad. It's like
Yeah.
they're just like they have. It's like it feels like the researchers need to put them in some kind of box.
Yeah.
And they don't want to go into the box. So they're just like they have to make the box really big.
Yeah.
You know, like you're in a box now.
Yeah. But they are also sometimes they are also undergoing a different molt when they're in their vacation in the Llanos
Interesting. Okay.
at the northern part of the continent. So they have a molt up there in their little vacation. They travel around. They end up somewhere else where they also have a molt.
Yeah.
But that's the one that they were saying is overwintering grounds.
Sure.
Not their like dedicated vacation spot.
Interesting.
Yeah. Isn't that so interesting? They just
Yeah.
like don't care. They're just like moving around.
Yeah.
And, you know, following water system and food is really how they're doing it. Yeah. Here I should mention that their crop gluttony has got them labeled as pests.
I was wondering about that.
Okay.
Specifically in Colombia and rice producing regions, they are considered pests. However, I know it's tempting to be like, oh my gosh, they're in danger because they're pests. That is not where they're most threatened. They are a near threatened species, and the threat is happening in North America, actually. And it's because they live in hayfields.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's some really depressing data. When a hayfield is hayed during the standard time at which a hayfield is hayed, 95% of bobolink nests fail.
Oh gosh, that is depressing.
Yep.
Oof.
And I don't know that this is much better, but there's like a movement to delay haying to save grassland species from getting hayed.
Yeah.
In their field of babies running around. The delay is July, right? So when hayfields are hayed in July instead, and it's delayed, only 54% of the nests fail.
That's better than
better.
95.
Yeah.
Oh,
gosh.
Yikes.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty bad. They also do really poorly when the fields are grazed. And this relates so well to our first depressing conservation story, because we have a battle in the United States of all land must be productive in order for it to exist. And if hayfields can't be hayed or grazed, it's no use to us. And also killing all the bobolinks. So literally we are the threat to bobolinks.
Yeah.
Because we can't leave them alone.
Just the, yeah.
Yeah, our agricultural practices and our land use is threatening them directly.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're very resilient.
They are.
And all of the researchers, when they're talking about bobolinks, cite their sort of loosey-goosiness, their lackadaisicalness as a trait which they are very optimistic about their long-term survival, because they've lost all of their breeding habitat, or most of it, before.
Yeah.
And they adapted. And we're hopeful that they can adapt to further changes going forward in the same way. Yeah. It's also worth noting that historically the habitat in the US during their like southbound migration was similar to the habitat in their northbound migration in terms of like access to seeds and rice and things like that. And that is no longer the case. And so that is another issue of our North American land use that has threatened this bird. And literally, it's worse for them that we mow hay fields than that sometimes they get shot in South America because they're eating rice.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that
that's-
makes sense.
yeah. And I don't even know how common that is. It wasn't cited, so it doesn't really matter for the population, at least. And so I've come to my final sidebar, which is my last sidebar before the conclusion, which is the next thing that I'm talking about. The sidebar is sort of a bookend sandwich of our stopovers. All right. Why do they do this?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Why did they make this trip? This is fun. It's a mystery. We don't know. Because here's the thing. For most birds, the leading hypothesis is that it has to do with their endocrine system, right? So for those who don't know, birds have 1 billion adaptations to be lightweight for flight, including that when they're not in their breeding season, their testes and ovaries shrivel up. So normally we look at like what is causing their testes or ovaries to balloon again and become ready for breeding. And that's how we look for the signals physiologically that a bird might be subject to. You know, we can change their environment and say, did their testes come back? And for a lot of birds, it seems that day length is what makes a difference. So when the days get too long, their testes start going, whoop. Okay. So get this, in laboratory settings, when they change the day length for bobolinks, the length of day that causes their testes and ovaries to become fruitful again is the exact same day length where they stop over for their Llanos vacation in Venezuela. But they don't balloon their testes and ovaries when they're in Venezuela having their vacation.
Yeah.
It's not their breeding ground.
No. So something else is happening. And we don't know what it is. It's an endocrinologic. Wait, is that a word? It's an endochronological mystery.
Yeah.
We don't know what's triggering it. And that also means we don't know why they're doing it, because for a lot of birds, we're like, well, obviously they have to go to North America because of the longer days, because their systems are looking for those longer days to be able to breed. And the longer days in North America is a leading hypothesis for why a lot of tropical birds go there in the first place to breed, like orioles. Like, why do orioles leave South America? Orioles are from South America. That's like where they evolved. Why do they travel north? Longer days. That's our hypothesis.
Right.
We don't know why bobolinks are doing this. Except what this researcher says, quote, this prompts the question, why such an extensive migration is undertaken and how it evolved, although the species' habitat affinities may be fundamental. And that's where our research lies at the moment. Yeah, because there appears to be no reason, like at least facultatively and photorefractorially, which is, they're science nonsense. There is no biological reason why bobolinks need to make this route.
Yeah.
The leading hypothesis is just that it's because of how they use their habitat. Yeah. Literally, the only reason that we can find that they make this huge year-long trip is because of how they're using the landscape. And that is fundamental to what makes a bobolink, including its incredible migration. They don't have to, but boy, do they want to. And they want to chase those little seeds, and they want to chase those little wetlands, and they want to eat all the rice. And they want to chase their little babies around, and they want to jump up and eat a dandelion off the dandelion from the ground, because that's how they do that. And that's why they're my new favorite bird.
Oh.
In conclusion.
That's nice.
That's a really beautiful story. The scale of all the space they utilize and all the things they do, it's just like, man, they're really getting the most out of stuff. You know? They're really out there they're just really out there being earthlings, and just really taking it all in.
Yeah. It's like literally their habitat is just like the grasslands page on our website, except not Australia and not the other the North America and South America. It's like it's just, the grassland groupies playlist of grassland bangers, it's just all of our little favorite ecosystems. They're just, that's all of them are their landscape all together collectively. That's where they live.
They're a connoisseur.
Connoisseur.
Yeah.
A vacationer.
Vacationer.
A cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really like the best way to vacation too, I don't like going into vacations with itineraries. Yeah. I just like to, let's like go there and let's figure it out. Yeah.
For sure.
Anyway, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for listening to me babble about my new favorite bird. Yeah. I kind of feel like I would have just done this for fun anyway, but I'm happy that our audience got to listen to us also.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm glad that's what we showed up for. Yeah. So, yeah.
I'm surprised you kept it all secret for this time. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
I thought I was going to give it away because if I talked about them too much after doing my migration spread.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. The Best Biome is produced through our nonprofit Grassland Groupies, dedicated to inspiring the conservation of grasslands. In the show notes, you can find our website, phone number, social media accounts. Reach out to us. We love to hear from you guys. If you enjoyed the show and want to support us, tell your friends about us and leave us a review. We couldn't do this without your support. See you again shortly. And again, make sure you look for those action items in the show notes as well.
Yes, indeed.
Woo!
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.